Hello, hello, everyone. It seems like I started the show on mute because, why not? Welcome again to another Africam show where we are going to be watching or spying rather on all the weird and beautiful creatures that live in the African wild across various countries and various parts of the world. Hosting you guys today, it's me, Ali. If you can recognize the voice, yay. If not, well, nice to meet you all. Lovely to have you all on board today. Now, it is pretty cold today, very much like the crocodiles. I wish I was out in the sun, sunbathing and just being warmer and happier. But alas, I am here looking at them with all of you. So if you've got any comments, any questions, feel free to send them through. This is a live and interactive show, and we absolutely love to hear from all of you. In case you are wondering, for a change, I do not have coffee or water. I have tea, some good old ginger tea because it's been too cold. So ginger is very good to boost immune systems and things. Now, I see that there are some people that have joined us. Oh, okay. Crocodile, that's a bit rude. You don't have to leave us. And in case you were wondering, this very lazy crocodile is a Tamarpan waterhole in the Boteti River in Botswana, which is the new camera that has been set up with Explore. Now, I believe there are two cameras. Kirsten and I were talking about it earlier. So there's this one that faces the waterhole, and then there's another one. And it's quite exciting because this particular part of Botswana, I mean, besides having some ginormous crocodiles, as what you can see there, I mean, I think there are one, two, three. I don't know if there's a fourth one hiding in there. It's also home to, or the Boteti River, the Boteti area, is home to the largest zebra migration in the world, in case you guys didn't know that. So, of course, we all know about the great migration of the wildebeest and the zebras. Oh, hello, zebras. In East Africa, but actually by accident, not too long ago, in terms of the research world, we discovered that there's a longer migration that the zebras do, pretty much from the Chobe frontage all the way down to the Makharikari pans, and then they go all the way back up. Now, at this time of the year, we shouldn't be seeing so many zebras here, which is why Kirsten and I were discussing earlier, because generally they start leaving the salt pans, which is in the middle of Botswana, and then they start going up back to the Chobe River. Once it becomes dry, and then pretty much the Chobe River is a perennial river, they will have a lot of water there. I love those noises they make. So quite unusual to have a lot of them here. Not all of them migrate, but I suspect the rainy season, Botswana has had a lot of rain this year, is playing a part in the fact that we can still see so many zebras being pulled by the water. I mean, if there's water in the desert, why should they leave? Now, I'm being quite rude. I got distracted and carried away because the zebra migration is something that fascinates me in Botswana. But I'm going to say hello to all of you that have actually joined because you guys were very kind to send all of your greetings through. So, Jean Gale, you're saying hello from Seattle with coffee and unusual June sunshine. Oh, well, that's nice. It was 90 Fahrenheit 32 yesterday. Oh, alrighty. I mean, that's quite warm, actually. And you say you're eager to learn more about the zebras. Well, that's great because I got plenty of stories to tell about the zebras in the Boteti River. I think it's one of the things that fascinates me the most, but I'm going to carry on before I get distracted. Casper's 3D Ghost, you're saying good morning, afternoon, Ellie, and hot coffee ready for the show. What an awesome peregrine falcon photo. You love it. I don't think I've seen the peregrine photo, so maybe I will have to have a look and stalk Africam a little bit more. Wow, I lost my words there. Zygote, you're saying namaste, namaste to you. Mindy Tilly poem. Hey, Ali, a pleasant surprise to hear your voice. Hello. Well, I'm glad you liked my voice. Okay. I'm very happy to be here. April Owl, you're saying good morning from a rainy Connecticut with your cherry iced tea and you're ready for the show. I feel like maybe you're missing a muffin. Timber Grace, you're saying good morning from sunny Minneapolis, Diet Coke in hand and ready to learn. That sounds wonderful. Kaoru, you're saying hello and that you've got milk again. Oh, I've made the wrong way, so I can't digest milk. And MG Leopard Spots, hello everybody from California. Hello to you guys. Now, as I was saying, the zebra migration in Botswana, which is part of what we're looking at today, or not really what we're looking at. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm just getting distracted because Kirsten has just sent me the Has sent me the image for the peregrine falcon. That's actually a very cool image. I wish I could take that photo. You know, sometimes these cameras are just positioned at the great angle because they are at low level. And animals, they know that it's not us, so they allow them to allow us to get a little bit closer. I mean, there's a lot of zebras. They should, guys, you shouldn't be here. Stop being lazy and start migrating back to the Chobe River. Let's see if they call again. So this is why I'm trying to be quiet. I absolutely love that call. I mean, just look at the reflection of the water of the zebras on the right. That's a lot of water for the Makarikari pans. So Botswana is quite an interesting place. It's home to one of the biggest, if not the biggest, landlocked delta in the world, and it's the lifeblood pretty much of this entire country. It's a very flat country, but it's a country that is currently, I should say, constantly moving. There are a lot of, especially in certain areas, particularly to the northern side, a lot of tiny little micro shifts in the tectonic plates that deviate the water and the channels and, pretty much, and they shape what is a very interesting country. So on the one side, if you go towards the northern and eastern part of the country, you have the Okavango Delta that is actually now rising in water levels, and it should reach the peak around July, August, when all of the water that has fallen in Angola, which is the neighboring country, has flown all the way from the Kavango River all the way into the delta, and then, becoming the Okavango Delta. And this particular part that we're seeing here is not fed by the water that comes from Angola, or is not fed from the delta itself. A lot of this is still remnants of the rainwater that we've had through the season. So, and I say this generally because we've seen a strange shift in the weather patterns in the last couple of years. The rain will normally start in November, and then it finishes around in April for Southern Africa. The same with the Makarikari pans. So all of this area, or Naipans even, just gets all of this water from, yeah, sure, there will be some places where they have underground water, but not as much. A lot of it is alluvial um, pans. And then some of them, of course, because there's underground water and there's tourism, then we pump certain water holes to try and preserve some of the animals in the area. But the vast majority of the zebras and even the elephants and some other species will migrate or displace, if I can call it like that, to areas where there's more water, there's more food. Because if you look around where the zebras are, sure, there's water, but can you see a lot of food? This is also another thing that makes the animals migrate. They might have water here and they might steal a little bit of food, but as the season progresses and it starts getting drier and it's becoming very dry very quickly, animals are just going to move off of the area. But then they'll return. And it's this amazing cycle of life and then drought and again the rebirth when the rains come. So if you look towards the background where all the zebras are, that would be sort of the top of your screen, there's a lot of wild sage around there. So I'm sure this is not what these guys are eating. It smells very nice, but it's not really um, it's not what they want to eat. I love that reflection. I mean, I'm taking photos in my head. If this happens to anyone else, but sometimes when I see something really pretty, I can just imagine it. Like I close my one eye and I can just imagine what the photo would look like. And I'm sure you guys are going to get some amazing screenshots from the reflections, like if the water stays on for a little bit longer. It'll be beautiful. And keep an eye out because, of course, where there are a lot of zebras, there are a lot of big cats that follow. Cheetahs, of course. Then there are lions, of course, leopards, of course. And I must say, the lions in this part of the world, around the Kalahari, the city, oof, those lions are beautiful. Really, really nice lions. I love bears. You're saying hello from Louisville in the United States. Lovely to have you join us, and I hope you're enjoying the zebras. However, we have something quite interesting in Hwange. So let's go and have a look at that first. Let's move off into a different country. Oh, well, this is not exactly what I meant, but this is also very interesting. Look at this, Elise. So initially we were talking about, or Curse messaged me about a bird, but let's have a look at the elephants first, because it's always nice seeing them. And it's also looking quite dry. I mean, if you look at all of the lack of grass really around this water pool, then you see it's a popular spot. Animals coming up and down, they trample the grass. So there are a lot of things that don't grow in there because of the constant use of the animals to get to and from water. But if I can point out something really funny, and it's something that you always notice, and I'm sure if you guys have been watching for a while, you would have noticed too, but it's the fact that there's an entire pan in front of the elephants, yet they are choosing to drink from the man-made pool because nobody is forcing them to. But elephants are very clever, and they also like to drink clean water. Why would they drink muddy water where all other animals live or have been bathing in, when they can actually just enjoy fresh, clean, pumped water? They're clever. They're always clever, and they can smell it. I don't know if you guys also were told this lie when you were little that water is something that doesn't have a smell. Ah, unless you're an elephant or a wildebeest, you will always be able to smell it. It doesn't matter where it is. But it's an interesting contrast. This part of Hwange, this part of Hwange, this part of Zimbabwe, meaning Hwange, is also the transition between the Kalahari Desert towards the, I mean, I'm going to say the woodlands and the savanna. And so it's got parts that are really, really dry, and it doesn't get a lot of rainfall. And this is why they have so many built-in water holes. So it wasn't this way before, but of course, in order to maintain certain species of animals and then just try to promote tourism, and which is not always a bad thing. I mean, in a lot of these areas, tourism is the only means of income for a lot of the local communities. Then of course the most important thing is to allow for animals to have resources throughout the year. So a lot of the elephants will migrate back and forth, or they will still move between one country and the next. However, many of them don't have to travel as far, so we have a better chance of seeing them. And actually, Hwange is potentially one of my favorite places to go and look at elephants. There are so many elephants there. It's a park that is about half of the size of the Kruger National Park in South Africa, which is, I'm going to say by excellence, the biggest national park that you can go on safari. And it's got double the elephant population. So it's generally pretty good. And elephants are normally pretty killed. There's a lot of talking going on right now. And just by what we were looking at earlier, is the angle. It seems like that elephant in the middle is pregnant. I mean, she was looking a bit bulgy on the sides. I don't know if you guys noticed, but there seemed to be a bit of an extra man's being carried around, let's put it that way. And there are no tiny little ones around, so sounds about right. Powers of deduction and all. When elephants drink, it's such a nice sound. Like, I find it very soothing. They're not trumpeting and pushing each other and doing all of that. It's almost hypnotic, isn't it? Ready? Bye, guys. Thanks for coming. You never know what someone might have left behind. Maybe a bird left some seeds. Maybe somebody dragged, a nice stick. Elephants always know. They always know. I'm pretty sure they know we're watching them. They don't know how, but they know. Such clever animals. JJ, you're wondering what's my best place to go on safari in Botswana is? Well, that is a very tough question because it depends on what you're after, really. So I was just guiding a safari in Savuti in the Delta, and I think the combination of anywhere in the Delta and anywhere in the salt pans or anywhere in the desert is fascinating. Those are the pelicans. That was actually the reason why we came onto this frame. But JJ, so I absolutely love places where there's water. I have realized that I don't know why. I am deeply attracted to them. And the Okavango is incredibly special because everything will be dry around it and the water levels are rising. And it's this blue, filtered, spectacular, clear water that you can go on a Makoro, or you can go on a boat, or you can cross with a cruiser. I mean, there are camps that I prefer over some others, and happy to have a chat because I mean, this will be a very long answer. But depends what you're looking for. But I would say the Delta, the Okavango is a place that I absolutely adore. I do not love Linyanti, which is an area part of Chobe. And Chobe I enjoy, but I find it's become too busy. It's a national park, and it's just like there's nothing quite like the Chobe for elephant viewing from a boat. I mean, if that's what you're after, then that is really the place to go. But for me, it's something I find Naipan and the Maharipan and the Botiti, that area very, very special, particularly in summer. So the weather is not great, it's muddy, it can be rainy, but then you have thousands of zebras around you. And from a photographic perspective, which I generally think of, it's just fascinating. It's just all of these stripes, and then it's the dust, and then it's the lions coming in, and then it's the cheetah. So yeah, I think maybe in the summer, I would say like my favorite spot would be around the Boteti River or just the general area. And in the winter, I would say anywhere in the Okavango. I worked for quite a bit in the quite private reserve, and I can say sightings there are pretty spectacular. They're really, really good, like good lion sightings, good leopard sightings. Far north into the Delta is also pretty spectacular. And there's a new camp that's been coming up, but I cannot speak from experience just yet because I haven't seen it. That is called Muketi. And Muketi is an interesting one because it sits between the northern part of Botswana or the Savuti Chobe area and the Kwai area. And because of the tectonic plate movements that I was explaining earlier, now there is a marsh or there's a channel that's becoming a marsh because it's gotten more of a water flow because the channel is different now. So there's one camp there called Wilderness Moketi. This is why it's the camp. And game viewing, especially for big cats, especially for lions, seems to be phenomenal. So I'm heading there actually next week, so I can give you more information about it afterwards. I'm sorry, that was a long-winded explanation, but I think might be one of my favorite places to go on safari. I just find it very varied. Sorry, if you're wondering about that noise, that is my hungry dog who is now making a noise. Anyway, going back to the pelicans. So I don't know if you guys are as surprised. So we have two species of pelicans, the great white pelicans, which I think these guys are, and then the pink-backed pelicans that we see in Botswana. The first time I saw them, I was very shocked about the fact that in the middle of a country, they are pelicans, because I figured pelicans were just sea creatures. Let me tell you, not around here. There's not a sea for miles around for these guys. And they are fairly common. You start seeing them in the winter, which is pretty interesting. And then of course, when you get to see them with all that green grass around them in the marsh, then that's pretty spectacular when you get lucky, and that does happen too. Mindy Tiliba, I agree. You're saying, wow, pelicans, yes. How crazy is that? I'm glad I'm not the only person that thought that this was completely out of place. The first time I saw them, which was, way longer than what I care to admit now. I was just like, did they get stranded here? Did they get confused? But no, they know exactly what they're doing. And then often you find them around here. So you can find them in Hwange, which is fascinating. I've never seen them there. This is my first time seeing them thanks to the Africam. But I have also seen them in bots. So it's I just find it like such a strange thing, isn't it? But they are beautiful. Normally in big flocks. This is a small flock. I'm sure there are more on their way. Maybe they're just waiting for the rest of them to come and join the party. And funny enough, I've never seen an interaction between pelicans and elephants. I wonder if they would just ignore them as they do with um Egyptian geese, or if they'll also start flicking water at them and then just move them off. Caro, you say, oh, great white pelicans on screen. Yes, sorry, I missed your comment earlier. I was, too committed to my Botswana answer. Sorry about that. Minitilipo, you're saying that you're asking if they can adapt from saltwater to freshwater, if these are strictly freshwater. Well, these guys are freshwater. I just want to double check that, but I think it's just a different species because like we get the ones, for example, in North America that are saltwater pelicans. These guys, you'll see them often in the markets, but I don't know if they can swap from one to the other. That is, let me see on my trusted app. I'm typing penguin instead of pelican, which is not great, is it? No, they can sub between the two. How amazing is that? So they can adapt from saltwater to freshwater. I'm assuming wherever there's fish, that's where they'll go, because that is what they're after. Yeah, that is correct. Lakes, estuaries, sheltered coastal bays, you know, not, not bad. It's a very nice and tranquil setting today, isn't it? I love the water noises. All we need is like a lion or something coming from behind. And I mean, sure, the pelicans are in the water. They can be looking for anything, like also barbel, tilapias in some areas, or barbel or catfish, brim. But I also had a sighting once, and we just arrived after the fact, and we could just deduce because we didn't see the actual cat, but and then I didn't see it, but somebody else did, and they had the photos through it, so I had to believe it. It was a caracal that had actually hunted down a pelican, which just saw feathers, and we were like, oh, we wonder what this is. Like something obviously ate a pelican. Turns out somebody else had seen it, and they were like, oh, it was a caracal. So how is that for crazy? Oh, those guys are not too worried about anything. Oh, goodness. I feel like it's cursed. You've got a view. Is there another elephant? Because I keep hearing something, and I don't know if I'm imagining things or if there's another elephant where the other ones were. No, maybe I'm just imagining the water sounds. There's a tusk. Haha. I like it when I'm not crazy and I don't make up things. Thank you, elephant, for photobombing for us. I thought it sounded very elephant-like, and I was like, no, this can't just be the water. Well, yay. Thank you, elephant, for photobombing. So yeah, interaction between elephants and pelicans, clearly if they're not close by, they don't care about one another. Interesting. I suppose that this is a young bull that is actually now starting to lag behind the group that we saw. Maybe is related to some of those females, and then he's just decided that he's going to become big and independent. So, or the females have decided that he is a bit too annoying, and then they just started pushing him back, and thus the process of actually looks pretty mature. But that's how the process of independence started with elephants. Or sometimes what will happen is also that young bulls, or not young bulls, bulls in general, will follow the females or will follow the scent of of a herd. Ah, look, it's following them because they're looking for mating opportunities. I am not sure this is the case. I suspect he's related to those guys over there, judging by size. I could be mistaken, but it's hard to judge size from a screen, right? But that's going to be my guess of the day, and I'm committed to it. Lisa Huffman, you are wondering what is that in the water? I missed it, but Curse says that there might be a hippo in the dam, so or the water hole. So I maybe it could have been a hippo, maybe fish rippling around, maybe well there were the pelicans earlier on, so I'm sorry I missed it earlier. I'm not sure what it is that you saw, but potentially a hippo, as I believe that there's a hippo in here. Bye, elephant. Be nice to your family. Oh, goodness. It is the elephant day. So we're back in Botswana in the Boteti River, and now we have an elephant. I mean, it'll be interesting for you guys. So, like, now there's a lot of water. Like I said, there's been like an impressive amount of rainfall that has fallen on in Botswana this year. And I mean, if you compare it to the Delta, because I mean, you have to look at it as a whole, only about 20% of the water in that is in the Delta. And what you see here is a total amount of the water that falls in the country, which is very little. I mean, 80% of the water comes from another country. That is crazy, isn't it? I mean, for the wild spaces. And us humans, of course, we have boreholes and pumps and things like that. But as it starts getting drier, the interesting part about it here is also it's a white desert. So it's not like Namibia or parts of Namibia. I mean, let's not think about Etosha, but if you think about the Sossusvlei and Tswalu and those parts of South Africa, it's red sand. This is actually all white sand. So as time goes by and it starts drying out, then you'll start seeing the elephants even are going to start looking whiter, and that's because they're going to find the little water holes or water available, and then they're just going to pretty much cake themselves in dust, protect their skin from the sun, get rid of parasites, and all the usual skills and all the usual things. But because the sand is so white, then they are going to appear whiter. They almost look like white ghosts, and it's super fascinating because I mean it is very late for all of these things to be here. I mean, at least in general, but it's nice to see that this is happening. And you'll see often the female, it'll be harder to see around this areas, perhaps in Mutiti a bit more than other parts, but it'll be harder to see herds of females with their youngsters in this areas, just because the conditions are harsher. So they start the trek towards the delta or the Chobe or the Savuti area where there's more water available and where it's easier then to sustain the little ones. And generally you'll just see mostly the big elephant bulls that stay around this area. And then, of course, a lot of, let's call them desert adapted or more desert adapted antelope that just hang around because they're in giraffe, plenty of giraffe that are not as water dependent. Also, Kurs was saying that they have been seeing a lot of bat-eared foxes and Cape foxes from this camera, which is really cool. Bat-eared foxes might just be some of my favorite critters out there. They are adorable, so keep an eye out on them. Generally nocturnal, so tossed on throughout the night, but they have the cutest little babies. So just have these massive ears because they're insectivorous, so they need big ears to be able to hear where insects move under the ground, and that just gives them a funny look, almost like ears as big as those of wild dogs, but with a foxy face. Ah, Kirst, well done. You're also saying that you like the bat-eared foxes. Good. I love them too. This elephant was pretty thirsty. I mean, sometimes if you think about it, at this time of the year, oh, there's another one coming. Elephants have to walk. Oh, somebody's very thirsty or very grumpy that somebody else is drinking. Okay, mister. That is certainly an attitude. It seems like he's on fire with all of that dust sailing behind him. Cool. I mean, we know what the hierarchy is like now. This bull, older, definitely stronger, just came running all the way, and I don't know what he might have said to this other one, but certainly it was like, get out of my water hole. I'm gonna go drink now. And the zebra is just in the background. That's very funny. That was unnecessary. Are you gonna go around and bother the other one just to make a point? That's where the water comes. So you see, he's just trying to suck directly from the freshest water, not the muddy water. Elephants are so clever, they really are. There you know. It's quite interesting. So around this part of Botswana, there are a lot of campsites, so people can go camping. And then you camp. It's quite dangerous because there are no fences or anything around it. So if you put a ground tent, you've got to be willing to share it with lions, leopards, hyenas, elephants. They generally leave you alone because or not their usual food. And then as long as you stay close to your car or on a rooftop tent, then generally things are okay. But there are, of course, ablutions or communal ablutions for the people that camp. And in order to have ablutions, you need to have water. So there are boreholes and things like that. And in some areas, particularly around the salt pans or the makarihari and then also nai pans, they've had to actually build water hose for the elephants next to the ablution so that they leave the pipes alone. Because elephants are very good at finding underground pipes and ripping them up, especially if they're thirsty. So it's almost like there's a balance. Like the humans have this massive concrete things with spikes to prevent elephants from actually getting into the bathrooms and things like that and ripping up pipes. And in turn, they realize it's easier just to give them some water next to the ablution because they can smell the water when people, wash their dishes or use the shower or whatever, than actually having to fix this every time. It's quite an interesting coexistence. I think also all of the zebra in the background are ready to come for a drink, but I suspect they know this is not a bull that is happy to share the water. I'm surprised it let the other younger one next to it. But the younger one is also, you see that he wasn't even drinking that water, but now he wants the fresh water. Saigon, you were saying it's a dusty trail. Well, yes, I think you were referring to the elephant, but it's also a dusty trail for the zebras, and it's only going to get worse. I wonder, guys, do you have wipers for the cameras? Because like these cameras are going to get very dusty. Like all of these zebras walking around. It'll be interesting. Oh, you do. Well done, Africam. Always one step ahead of all of us. Thank you. You're saying it's so nice to see the zebra walk by at the back. Thank you. I mean, if I could categorize, is that a word? Yeah. It's been like a very tranquil afternoon today, just like one of those nice days where everyone is just taking it easy. A lot. A lot of zebras. You know, weather has been really strange in many parts of the world lately. And I think we're seeing the zebras here, but like I just want to watch this in like August. This is going to be spectacular. Or maybe in October, November when the zebras start coming back. Well, it's going to be nice. Kara, you're wondering if the zebras migrate to the same place as the wildebeest do. Um, I mean, no. So we've got the East African Great Migration, which is the zebras, the wildebeest, and Thompson's gazelle. That they just have this circular motion almost between the Serengeti or the southern part of the Serengeti to the Mara and then back. The zebras here, they migrate within Botswana. It's about 600 kilometers that they do, and they go from the salt pans, so sort of like the southwestern part, central, not actually south, part of the country, all the way to the north, and then they come back down again. So it's also migration, but they don't interlap. They occur in two different parts of the continent, one in East Africa between Tanzania and Kenya, and then this one in Botswana. Alrighty, let's go to Sarendella and Thorny Bush. Oh my goodness, everybody's thirsty today. That's a nice big herd of buffalo. I love a nice big herd of buffalo. One buffalo bull on its own, maybe not as interesting, but big herds are lovely. Unfortunately, the sound isn't working, but I mean, we can still enjoy the afternoon. And I just want to point out, I think this is one of my favorite things of the winter. Look at that light. I mean, we've had beautiful light in Hwange, in Boteti, and here. It's just like this soft golden light that comes across in the winter time. I think it's one of my favorite things. Definitely worth freezing for. I mean, I was chatting to Kirsten today, and I'm sorry, but I can't do the Fahrenheit conversion quickly. But it was 3 degrees in Johannesburg today. I feel like it wasn't far off in Hoedspruit because we've also had the cold front hit us. So that's near and around 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And the real feel was -3. So it's cold. It's cold for a lot of us here because I mean, I just want to tell the world that it's a myth that Africa doesn't get cold. It can get cold. It can get very cold. Dinky, you're saying that this is a big herd. Cindy, you're saying wow. And Andy, you're saying the buffaloes are invading Sarendella. Yes, it seems like that is the case. Believe it or not, some water holes are starting to dry up, so animals are congregating more and more in big water sources. And generally, with big herds of buffalo like this, lions are not too far behind. They might not necessarily follow them down here, but I think maybe Sarendella's rangers will have an interesting point to start looking for lions tomorrow, unless the lions are already eating something, and then in which case the lions will probably not care. But this is actually not too far from where I stay. I mean, it's about 40-minute drive from where I am. I mean, to the main reserve, which is Thorny Bush, to Sarendella. It'll be a little bit longer because, you have to drive through the reserve at a certain speed and things like that. But it's a very prolific part of the Kruger, actually. The sightings are pretty good there. This is so funny. All of the guests are probably on game drive and they're missing a very cool sighting. Because game drive at this time of the day starts, or this time of the year starts around 3:30, and it is 4:30 now. I mean, almost 22:05 for South Africa time, so I suspect the guests are long gone. Probably, what time is sunset now? I think sunset is still around 5 or 5:20 or something like that. So I was going to say maybe the guests are having their sundown or two, very much like the buffalo. But I think hopefully not. Hopefully they're still looking for creatures to photograph in that beautiful light. I can't believe there's a buffalo actually in the water. That's a daredevil. Like who? Or is that just... Oh no, it's the shadow. Okay, never mind. I thought there was a buffalo actually lying down in the water. I was like, you're gonna freeze. But no. Thankfully, they are all being very sensible buffalo and they just have their legs wet. And, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually set up camp not too far from Sarendella and then they just sleep in some of the open areas back there or where you see sort of to the right of the screen and just spend the evening there. Ruminants are very much creatures of habit. So, they'll come, they'll drink, maybe they'll eat for a little bit, and then lie down, ruminate for a bit, and then just sleep for a couple of hours, ruminate some more, and then restart their day. Probably huddle together tonight because I think it's going to be cold. It has been cold the last couple of days. Kaoru, you're saying, or you're thanking me for answering your question. My pleasure. I like it when you guys send questions through. It definitely makes it more interesting for everyone. And even though it's not nice when I don't know the answer to something, I'd much rather you guys tell me something that I haven't thought of because that's the way we all learn. That's the way we all keep getting better and learning more and more, which I think it's definitely the most interesting part of this job. And it's the one thing that has kept me going. There's a routine, of course, but there's no set routine when it comes to the knowledge. Oh, I think let's go back to camel thorn in Hwange, Boteti. Oh, okay, yeah, no, never mind. Let's go back to that one, to camel thorn, because there's a hippo grazing. For one second, I thought that was in Hwange, which was what Lisa was potentially referring to earlier, but I don't think that was the case. I got the location wrong. Now, we're going into the winter, and the light isn't as harsh as what it is at this time of the year in the summertime. So you will start seeing things like hippos coming out of the water earlier or spending more time sunbathing during the heat of the day. It's a lot nicer for them. And they're not going to dehydrate. They don't have to worry too much. And in the winter also, if you're going on a bushwalk, sometimes you've got to be careful because hippos can walk a deceptively long distance from a water hole. And if they get caught up in the bush in the middle, they'll sleep under a bush until it's cold enough or not as hot or the sun isn't shining as strongly for them to go back to the water. Hello, little hippo. So sometimes it's interesting because you'll go on a bushwalk and then you'll bump into a hippo in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of like, a woodland. And you're like, oh, Tinky, there's no breeding season for buffalo. They can breed throughout the year, and they actually have a few interesting adaptations. So their calves suckle from the back of the mother, so not the side, facing the mother, as many of the antelopes or cows do. And this is also partly because they're constantly on the move. So, as many of the herbivores, when the little buffalo are born, they've got to stand on their feet pretty quickly, and they're constantly on the move behind their mothers. So they can give birth at any time of the year. I think it's the crocodile at the back, isn't it? I had a very unfortunate sighting now on my last safari. We were in the Delta and we were doing a boat safari through the channels, and then we just came across this little buffalo calf. It was all by itself, and it seemed like it had no parents. It was calling, and the herd moved off and crossed the channel and left this little one behind. It was it was quite heart-wrenching. I still can't shake that feeling. It wasn't too nice. Jack the Boar, hippos to keep their skin wet, otherwise they'll get a sunburn. Yes, so have to. Sorry, I read that straight from the typo. So part of the reason hippos are they have an amphibian lifestyle. So their skin is adapted for them to be able to stay in the water for as much as they can. So they produce two different types of secretions or oil that helps them with living in the pretty much bacteria infested water that they live in, and also to protect their skin from the sun. So often you won't see them walking around in the middle of the day because although this natural secretion helps them to reduce water loss, if they do it for too long or too often, then of course this can lead to dehydration and it can cause them to die. It's not like they have to keep their skin wet because part of this secretion will help them, but you won't find them too far from the water because this is also where their safe space and where they are adapted to live. So they lead a partly aquatic life, so they have to be in the water, or they've been adapted to live in the water, I should say. I mean, they mate in the water, they give birth in the water, and then they can suckle their calves underwater. They can actually also sleep underwater. Funny, especially in the summer when it's very hot, you'll just see them popping up their nostrils, and then they can do that as a reflex when they sleep. They'll grab or gasp for some air and then close their nostrils and come back down. The thing is that, and we can also feel it in the summertime, because in the wintertime, sorry, when it's not as hot. It's the same for us. Like when it's super hot, you want to stay in the shade. You don't want to move too much because is it even worth it spending all that energy for no point other than being hot? Really. So you just tend to take it easy. Same with the hippos. However, if it's the summer and it's a drought, they will push themselves to go further and further away from water looking for food. Thank you. You're wondering what the relationship between the hippos and the crocodiles are. It's pretty much a non-aggression one in between the two. The hippos could snap a crocodile in half with their sharp tusks if they wanted to. So crocodiles tend to leave the hippos alone and live them by themselves. They don't actually hunt them. Unless, for example, it's a baby hippo or it's a calf that's just been born, then you might see a big crocodile might take a chance. But generally speaking, they kind of stay out of each other's way. That's a very cute baby hippo. I'm very partial to hippo. I wish I could be one. Righty. Guys, it is unfortunately that time of the day. Thank you very much for joining us and for looking at all of this. We actually had a water-themed show today. So hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. And I don't know what else to say, but thanks again.